Hello, everybody. Soon we're going to be going live.
Oh,
Hello.
hi, how are you?
Live with Donald
How are you?
Lawrence.
Great to be here.
How is everything?
Everything is really great. I can't complain whatsoever. Just,
Oh,
just kind of figuring it out and chilling and staying safe and trying to, keep busy while I'm at home. But
okay.
it's been plenty to do actually,
Yeah.
since everybody's stuck in. So you know how it goes.
Yeah. Well, I
Yeah.
just want to tell the folks, it's so thrilled. My name is, for the people out there, it's
Okay.
Kamilah Forbes, executive producer of the Apollo Theater.
hmm
And we are live with
Okay.
Grammy award winning,
Yep.
Stellar award winning, um, right, uh, vocal producer, singer, songwriter, Mr. Donald Lawrence. So
Yeah,
I
I'm
really
so
want to
glad to be
thank
here.
you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Camila. It was good to see you again. It was great meeting you in
Absolutely.
December. So, it's great to do this again. Yes.
Yes. And December,
Uh-huh.
I must say, was such a beautiful time. You and Yolanda Adams
Oh, wow.
headlined
Yeah.
Holiday Joy at the Apollo Theater. And
Yeah.
like I said, if I did, I know I said it to you then, that was such an uplifting moment.
Wow. Thank you so much. We had a
Yeah.
great time. I love my sister Yolanda. She's just iconic, and it's always great to work with her. It's real seamless. It's real easy. We just talked and said what we're gonna do. She just shows up and it just works. So it was great to do that. I had a blast, and of course, just being at the legendary Apollo Theater and headlining and seeing your name on the billboard, that's just something that, artists like myself, especially Black artists, we dream of. So thank you so much. It was really a
Mm,
privilege.
mm. Well, that really means a lot because I think, especially for someone like you performed on stages around the world,
Yeah.
around the globe,
Uh-huh.
and from stages to pulpits. And and I'm curious, like for you, what was so different about the Apollo, like that
I
time
mean,
performing on the stage?
it's the Apollo, just the level of talent that has come through there, from
Mm,
James Brown to Michael
mm,
Jackson, Marvin Gaye, just Luther Vandross, like, just the just the talent. I mean, what are you talking about? Like, I mean, anybody should be considered an honor to step on that stage, given the legendary icons that have walked through there, that particular theater, endorsed and pushed into their greatness. So for me, yes, it's the Apollo. To me, there's no place that you could go to that I think represents what that represents. No other place has really done it like that. So, just so for me, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful moment.
that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Something beautiful. My daughter, she's 3.5, and
Wow.
she was there that night, that
Okay.
afternoon, and what she talks about the theater feeling sometimes. She said it. Mama, this feels like church,
Oh
right?
yeah.
And definitely that day in particular. But she said it on other occasions, and
hmm
I'm wondering if there was, how for you also as a gospel artist performing at the Apollo, how was that different than other, you know, secular,
So,
venues? I'm curious.
well, you know what? I think that our music stems from spirituality, no matter what it is. I think all music has got a spiritual side to it, and so to me, it just felt like I was with my people. It was just singing, and once you put a group of people in the room and you sing a message that hits the heart, it doesn't really matter where you are. I
Mm,
think it transforms it into something spiritual, a spiritual
mm,
release, a spiritual uplifting, a higher consciousness. So to me, being there and we all sharing the same kind of thing, and you say that one message that resonates with everybody, it just
mm,
transforms the room to me. So for me, it was great. I mean, like I said, I mean, I think Black people in general are just very spiritual. Our roots is just church. So
mm,
it doesn't matter where you put them, they bring church with them.
mm,
It just really doesn't matter. So to me,
mm,
getting there and being in a room with a lot of people
mm.
of all ethnicities, of course, it
Sure,
just turns it into church. Just
sure.
we just do that, yeah.
Sure. Well, I don't want to pick up on that thread. I love that you just dived in there, the idea of really spirituality living within all of our music.
All of our music, yeah. Music is spiritual in general. It really, really, really is. And I know that people think they separate it, but really, when God made music,
Mm,
He made music. He didn't separate it into genres. Man
mm,
separated it into genres.
mm,
Music, a drum is a drum. A
mm,
piano is a piano. It doesn't come and say this is an urban piano and this is a classical piano. A piano is a piano. So we decided that all of these things are different. I think what changes the music is the intent of the heart. And if the heart is pure and is giving you from a certain place, then so is the music.
That's right. That's right. Wow. Wow. And well, let me ask you then, from your perspective, and
Hmm.
you as an artist and a musician, and well, let me back up. Where are you from, Donald?
I'm originally from North Carolina. I
North
was born in Charlotte, North Carolina. Grew up in Gastonia. Then moved to Charlotte, but I've been living in Chicago now for like almost 20 years. So Chicago is home. They
Chicago's
treat me
home.
like I was born here. So this is home. This is home. Everybody thinks I'm really a Chicago.
Right, right, right.
Yeah.
Well, you in my hometown, so
Yeah,
keep it warm
that's right.
for me. Keep it
Yeah,
warm for me.
it's kind of nice today. It's a beautiful day today. It's not too
Yeah.
bad.
Yeah. Well, the reason why I also wanted to ask, in regards to where you're from, because I always believe that, our roots, whether that's cultural, spiritual, but also like location roots, always inform who we are as artists
Uh-huh.
and what our process is.
Yeah.
And as you talked about, this idea of really spirituality kind of being kind of the basis, and lives within all music and no
Yeah.
separation. For you, how do you attack that process? How do you attack
Uh,
that creative process?
for me, it's about I really think it's about finding the pureness in it and really being honest with whatever it is you're delivering. For me, I feel like I was put here to encourage people. So I'm always doing music and even thinking about music from a second person perspective. It's always second person, third person. If I speak in a first person, it's I I did this. This is how it worked for me. The second verse is going to go to second person and say, now this is what you can do and this is how it can work for you. So for me in creating, it's always to uplift, it's always to inspire, it's always to give spiritual wisdom however I choose to give it throughout the song. Sometimes it's a little more churchy, sometimes it's a little just more inspirational, more about life. But I always want, when somebody listens to my music, I want them to feel like they sat on a couch for a minute and this
Mm-hmm.
great spiritual psychologist just spoke to them and they walked away and they know how to handle their problems.
Mm-hmm. And there's a new album in there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
there's a new album. And I mean, the reason why, bringing that up, I just even wonder, what's specific about, this particular album, that, in which, what was your process initially when you
With the
got that
new album. Yeah,
with
Goshen
Goshen?
really was it's a theatrical album. It's almost kind of like a cast album before the show. My background, of course, is in musical theater. I trained at Cincinnati Conservatory in musical theater. So this album is very theatrical, but I wanted to tell the story of the Exodus, but in a unique way. And what I did was took that story and paralleled it with what life was then. I had no idea we was going to actually really be living a real life plague. So what I did was told that story, and it's so ironic that there is a segment, like a segue that's called plagues, and after plagues, it goes into the song called Jehovah Sabaoth, and it really means God of angel armies, or a God who governs an army of angels. And so this whole piece was to tell us that your story can start here and you can have this moment in the middle of it, but when you get to the end of it, you'll realize that God totally rewrote your story. You come out of it with a brand new story, and you're excited and you can celebrate the new story. So this process was really about theater, about storytelling, but
Yeah.
inside of that, giving some spiritual wisdom to help people get through life. I always want to give people something to help them get through life better.
Wow. And that's so important, especially
Yeah,
right now, right?
yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
just that kind of, nugget of messaging,
Yeah,
particularly with this day and age
this
today.
day and I
Wow,
mean,
you were definitely looking ahead.
yeah, I think that artists and really true artists, they go somewhere and they come back with art. I think that they don't realize that we go somewhere, we come back with art, and it's something that needs to be. It's always something that needs to be said at a certain time, and I think that's what true art is and true artists. And I admire those artists that come back, we're just blown away with what they have, but they've gone somewhere. I always say you go there and you bring it back here, and I think that art is always out there. It's
That's right.
waiting, and God decides who He wants to drop certain art into. And
That's
I'm
true.
always honored the art that He gives me, that He allows me to channel into the earth.
Mm. Well, let me ask you this also. Now that you're, when you talk about, art always going somewhere and bringing something back. And
Hmm.
for those who are listening, put your questions in the comments because we're gonna have a little Q&A at the end. So keep it
Yeah.
going. I see you guys. I see you guys. Um, um, who moves you? Who inspires you? Who are those artists that have really helped you transcend in your own craft?
Oh wow, I definitely have a list of people that I feel like very influential in my sound and what I do and how I approach music. I always give credit to Andre Crouch, Walter and Edwin Hawkins, Richard Smallwood,
Mm.
Twinkie Clark,
Yes.
Thomas Whitfield, who is from Detroit, a choir master, major musician, Luther Vandross, who
Mm.
I studied like it's a textbook to me now. I studied him so much. There's a musical theater writer that I studied a lot too. His name is Stephen Sondheim. I studied his approach to musical theater and writing and storytelling. He's just a genius. He's somebody that I haven't met yet, and he's a little older now, but that's on my list of people I would love to meet. He's just one of my heroes. Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
so interesting
So it's
because
a blend of theater,
uh,
gospel music, urban music,
yeah,
all kind of wrapped in one. Yeah.
yeah. Well, and you hear that in not only your
Yeah.
sound and the work, but also your body of work, right? Because
Yeah,
you
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 do.
step
Teddy
into,
Riley too. I know I never want to leave out Teddy Riley. Teddy Riley is the reason why I wanted to produce. I wasn't a
really,
producer. Oh no, I didn't. I never had even had plans to produce. But once he kind of came out in like the 80s, like the late 80s, and his sound, I just identified it to it, and it made me want to produce. So I always say that he is the number one person that made me want to produce. A lot of the other people definitely influenced my writing, my creativity, but when it comes to production beats, and Teddy Riley, hands down, was one of my number one inspirations for wanting to be a producer.
there's something interesting about Teddy Riley, right? Is that
Uh-huh.
his sound, and he's had so much broad influence around so many artists that sometimes we don't even immediately identify. That was
Hmm.
immediately because of Teddy Riley's production, right?
Absolutely. Uh-huh.
Defined an era. That New Jack Swing era was an era,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? Of
It was an era, absolutely.
right, and it's
Yes.
completely defined. And when I think about that, I also think about like other era defining. And I know that you are involved right now in a major film
Oh yeah.
about one
Hmm.
of the most era defining gospel groups of
Yeah.
all time, and that's the Clark
Absolutely.
sisters.
The Clark sisters, yes, I was obsessed with them growing up as a young one. I'm studying, learning music and stuff. Twinkie, she's just a genius, and I used to study their music so much. One of my singers introduced me to them, and I just became hooked, and I was obsessed with it. I studied it so much. Never dreamed that I would ever work with them. I just hoped that one day in a lifetime I'd just get to shake their hands. I
Yeah.
never knew that I would have a chance to actually be in the studio with them, do records with them. Win Grammys with them. I never expected that. But yeah, I took on the task of doing the movie, the Clark Sisters, First Ladies of Gospel, the Clark Sisters biopic, and it's been a beautiful experience. I'm excited about it. Of course, it premieres tonight, and I'm very excited for people to hear what we did. It was a great moment in time for me. Absolutely.
Well, can we talk a little bit about that process, because I'm
Sure.
curious about, because obviously you've worked closely with the Clark sisters. So
Uh-huh.
what was that process of trying to recreate? Because when I heard the trailer, I really
Uh-huh.
thought, I was like, wait, is that the Clark sisters singing
Right.
and
Right.
overdub?
Yeah.
Like I'm thinking like,
Yeah, that's what
really?
everyone said. That's what everyone says.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, you know what? I know them. I know their recipe. I studied it really, just before I knew them. I just studied it like backwards and forwards. I'm a studier. So I studied what I figured out the science was and the recipe of it. It's very know this is a hard one to duplicate, so it is not easy. However, I just knew it, and then after I got to know them, I knew it. So when Christine Swanson, the brilliant director Christine Swanson, she was originally the goal was to let the Clark sisters do all the vocal overdubs and the actors lip to it. Christine said, I really want to hire singers and train them to act. I don't really particularly care for lip syncing. I would love for the singers to do it. So I had prepped to record the Clark sisters, and then maybe 3 weeks from production, she called me and asked me, could you train the actors to sing like them? And I
Mm.
was like, well, it depends on who you got. Let me hear the textures and see if I could figure out how to create the recipe over. And they let me hear some of them. Some of them I kind of was unsure if I was going to be able to get it. And I let them know there might be a little challenge here. But once we got in the studio and I started explaining things, they were all really smart. We were able to get it. So the actors sang everything, the whole movie, the
Wow.
soundtrack. And sometimes it's so uncanny that you would think that it was actually Clark Sisters. Even the Clark Sisters asked me if I got Twinkie to come in and do some overdubs. And I was like, no,
Really?
it's totally all the actors. Yeah.
Wow. Well, you
Yeah.
talked about that recipe. What is that recipe? What is the
Well,
Clark sister sound? Because I know it when I hear it.
you
But
know it when you hear it. Well, it's definitely how Karen's voice is placed on the top, how Twinkie's voice is placed on the bottom. She has range, but she sings a contralto, so she dominates the tenor. Jackie, Dorinda, of course, is a kind of a smoky alto with a lot of character in her voice, and she's in the middle and she moves around. Jackie has got like a really rich, kind of airy, breathy texture. So you kind of got what I call Karen, very pointed here, or if you want to talk about it in spices or ingredients like a sharp cheese.
mm,
You got a sharp cheese with Dorinda. You kind of got like a stronger kind of sharp, but not too sharp on the bottom. Then you need that smoothness to melt that. I would say Jackie would be the mozzarella to blend all it down and calm some of it down so we get a really rich, well-bodied sound. So you have to know that. So I trained like the lady that plays Jackie to mimic Jackie's voice. She's actually a soprano, but she learned how to mimic Jackie's voice, add the texture that Jackie brings to the thing to mold all of it together. So when you put all five of the sounds together with
yeah.
Raven and all of them, because she was doubling soprano, that put the
Oh,
sound together. It's just
wow.
really, really, really great.
And I could only imagine, and I mean, I could only imagine being on set, working with these actresses, actually
Uh-huh.
singing and not overdubbing. That just elevated their
Oh,
performance
it
in some
did.
way,
Oh,
right?
it did because you feel it differently. But plus, everybody was just blown away. They couldn't believe it when they heard them. Once we got it together and they heard them, the producers, and it was like, oh my God. It was like, I don't know if anybody thought I could really do it. It was really like one of those kind of things you take a risk with because it was either going to go this way, it was going to fall this way really, really
That's
bad.
right. That's right.
So, and Christine is a risk taker. So
Okay.
she said that's how you find the greatest art when you take risks. So kudos to Christine Swanson. She's just brilliant. My kind of creative. She's a method creative, and I love
Mm,
talking with her.
mm,
Well, it happened, and once everybody heard the first song, it was like, oh, this is getting ready to be something right here, and it's
amazing.
really really special. For those of you who haven't, the soundtrack is already out, so if you want to hear them, go to Amazon. You can find the First Ladies of Gospel Clarkson's biopic soundtrack. It's there, and they're singing everything. Some of my friends hit me and said it sounds almost like you remixed old tracks, and I was like, no, it's all we cut everything from scratch.
Well, kudos
Yeah,
to you because I think that
thank you.
speaks to your artistry, your vision, but also, your direction because the way you explained that with
Yeah,
Jesus, with
yeah,
Jesus,
yeah.
but
Well,
and that's
you kind of have to know.
yeah,
I think science adds to art. Like if you know the science, you know how to approach it that way. It kind of helps me explain it to them,
yeah,
helps me help them find it. It's kind of what we call vocal pedagogy. You can kind of figure out how to take voices and find sounds and really duplicate. And if you do that right, you end up with a great look, and they sound great. I'm really proud of them. Really proud
amazing,
of all of them. All five of them. They
amazing.
did a great job. Yeah.
So that's tonight, 8 p.m. at Lifetime.
No, tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 Central. Yeah, it's tonight. It's the premiere. The Clarkson's Bite. It's a great story, great music, and I'm really excited for everybody to hear this wonderful story. You'll see a lot about their lives and understand how their mother, much respect to her. She was a great talent, but most importantly, she was really a boss. Like she came up in a time
Mm,
where it was very
mm,
male driven.
mm.
Um, you know, society, and especially in church. And she really had to work to hold her own. And she was tough, but she had to be tough because she was a female. And if she wasn't, she would have been put in her place a lot of times. And I'm watching the movie and really getting into the story. I really respect her totally differently. Like she
Mm.
fought for her place and for
Wow.
her voice, and she got it too.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm so excited because that role is brilliantly brought to life by Miss Ingenue. Yeah, Miss
Ingenue
Ellis.
Ellis, like, oh my goodness, it's just eerie. I mean, it's like Dr. Clark just reincarnated. She
Wow.
just embodied it. Like, it's just unbelievable. When you see it, you're gonna just go like, I'm speechless. Like,
Wow.
she's a brilliant,
Mm,
brilliant talent.
mm,
That's all I can
mm.
say. Yeah.
This is, I mean, and wow, wow. Well, we all will be tuning in tonight. We all
Yeah,
will be
please
tuning
do.
in tonight for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
And something else I want to, ask you about because, and you mentioned this at the Apollo, but your musical theater background. Um,
Yeah.
and I recognize that, in just in when you talk about just even in how you explain, like how there's a story to everything in
Hmm.
what you do. I also
Yeah.
read that you were part of Born for This, which
I
is
was, yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
know,
BB
uh,
Winans musical, Born for This. BB and I are good friends. We go way back, and we actually met via Stephanie Mills. I was Stephanie Mills' musical director for 10 years. As a matter of fact, we used to play sold out shows at the Apollo all the time. Sometimes we would be there for 2 weeks.
wow.
So that's her home. I always say, you go to Stephanie Mills at the Apollo, just step back because
Yeah.
they love her there. We would just be there so for weeks. And she introduced me to him, and he knew that I knew gospel, but he also knew because of my urban AC experience, especially around the 80s and 90s. That's kind of where his music came. He knew I knew that. He also knew that I knew musical theater from my background in education, but he also knew that I worked at PTL where he and Cece got their starts. I was there a year right after them after they left. So he knew I knew that sound as well. So all four sounds I knew. And he's like, when I do this musical, you got to come and work on the music with me as a music supervisor. So it was something that we started about 2015, and
Okay.
it's been a beautiful journey.
Okay.
Beautiful journey.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Directed by Mr. Charles Randolph
Yeah,
Wright.
Charles Randolph Wright, my friend, he's also a Carolinian. He's from
Yes.
Rockville, South Carolina, and a lot of my no, he's from York. His family's in York, and a lot of my mom's family was there. That's where all her sisters were there.
Got
I
it.
was in North Carolina, but it's like right across the bridge, like right on the other side, 30 minutes. All of
Interesting.
his family is there. A lot of my aunts and them all where he's from. He's a
So
great talent as well. Yeah.
this was destined,
Yeah, it was
basically.
destined. It definitely, and he and I were gonna work on some things in the future again together. But I'm waiting for Born for This to come to Broadway, and I'm pretty sure it's gonna come, and we're just gonna knock it out. Congratulations to BB as well.
Absolutely. We will all be waiting for that. So again, interesting collaborations. And one
Yeah.
thing that you shared with me at the Apollo, which was one of your collaborations in the theatrical realm with the dance company out of Chicago, Kevin Yeager's Deeply Rooted.
Oh yeah, that's my newest piece. When I created Goshen to be a dance theater project. It's no template for it because what I wanted to see was choir on stage and a dance company on stage.
Mm,
Them actually working in together almost like a duet. Sometimes the choir takes the lead, sometimes the company takes the lead. So
mm,
we premiered like just it was most like a workshop this past December
mhm.
of Goshen. It was a 45-minute presentation of the work, and people just loved it. It's the whole album put on stage set to dance theater.
Mm.
It was amazing. And honestly, we were to open, Broadway in Chicago was opening it here May 22nd, but because of the virus, we have to cancel it. We're going to have to postpone it and figure out when we're going to do it again. It might not be until 2021, but I'm so excited about it. I can't wait for people to see it. It's kind of no template for it. It's all of my songs on the album set to dance theater. We're storytelling through dance and choir, and it's all on stage at the same time. It's a really, really unique piece. It's a conceptual piece, and it's what we call conceived by. And one of the people who kind of really started that word in musical theater was Stephen Sondheim.
Please.
He started the whole conceived by because he would take concept musicals
That's
that
good.
weren't necessarily script. It was music and dance or music and image and created shows with them. And so this is a concept show.
So when you and and thinking about that concept show, right, and along what that process is like, because
Hmm.
when I think about the process of a musical, right, you build a script, you build the music, actors come in, interpret the
Yeah.
script, interpret the music, but as you're talking, I would imagine there have to be a far more collaborative process. And I'm curious. I'm curious. What
Yeah.
came first? What came
Well, you know
first?
what? It's the song and lyric because the lyric in this kind of thing, the lyric is the script. So the lyric is the script, the song. And then a lot of times I would set with our egg and I would say, this is kind of how I envision this image happening here. This is a story I want to tell. And then we let dance tell it. And for me, as a study, one of my other musical heroes was the guy who really created, not created, but definitely made the Department of Musical Theater at Cincinnati Conservatory popular and really well respected was a guy by the name of Worth Gardner. He was my professor. He was one of those people that was left of center. He always did things left of center. His approach to it was never straight down the middle. And I learned that. And that was one of the things I loved about theater. You could kind of just do what you want and tell the story. So Goshen is told kind of left of center, but it's with dance. And they tell the story. They tell the Exodus. I have a song called He Rebuked the Red Sea, and it's all about Moses, how he spoke to the water, and the water departed. But you got to see it with the choir singing that and the dancers telling that story. It's a whole kind of different thing. And we finished that piece by saying that no matter what life is, no matter what Red Sea is in front of you, you can speak to it and you can cross over. So we take those stories and really put this wisdom to let you know whatever Red Sea is in front of you, speak to it by faith. The water opens up and you just walk through and you cross over to the other side and you celebrate your dream, your life, everything that's been promised to you.
There it is.
Yeah.
That's really powerful because, there's something about, I think, dance and sound sonically that when we fail at words and when
it's something about, yes.
That
yes,
dance
I agree.
Sound. Yeah.
Something about dance. I love dance theater. It's just something about dance and the visuals and the pictures that they create on stage with sound and with lyric. And sometimes it doesn't have to be lyric, it just be sound with them. It's just something about that that just speaks to me deeply. So I wanted to do a piece that definitely was dance and song and not necessarily so much script. And that's pretty much what it is. It just keeps moving. It's a one act. It's about 90 minutes. And it just, I can't wait for everyone to see it. I look forward to it actually touring internationally. That's my goal.
Well, touring, those are words I like to hear because, what's going in my mind, I'm like, get this at the Apollo.
Yeah, that's why it would be beautiful to really come there and co-do this with you guys as well. So I'm sure me and you will talk about that, but I look forward to bringing that to New York and do a thing. Yep. And then you got the Chicago connection too. So I'm sure it would be great to be loving to talk to you. Yeah.
That's right. That's right. We would love to. Now I know there's some questions that that's coming through here that I'm just gonna share with you because I know folks are writing furiously. One of the questions is, what is one of your favorite Clark Sisters songs?
Oh man, they have so many, but it's funny because Janu was asking me this just yesterday. We were texting each other. I told her one of the ones that I know I love so much was an old song called Cast Your Cares. Twinkie's writing and the visuals in the writing, the metaphors that she wrote in this particular piece, they're just stunning. It says that, tell me why the birds fly so high, floating in the sky. They soar into the air. They coast the wind, they dare. They know the Creator holds them, yet they don't give a care. From the north to the south, to the east to the west, they dance across the waters, the breeze they gently caress. And she finishes by saying, He never leaves them, He's there. He always feeds them, He's there. From the rising of the sun to the setting of the sun, all they say is, and it finishes up by saying, if He cares that much for them, I just need to cast all my cares on him. So it's just all about if He cares that much for the birds that He allows, that they never worry about a thing, then if they're coasting around like that and not worried about anything, then I need to cast my cares as well. It's just lyrically stunning. It just is.
Wow. It's the kind of faith and care that we need today,
Yeah,
so,
like the birds. They just
like
coast. They never worry about falling. They just coast. They never worry about how they're going to eat. He always feeds them. So if He cares that much for them, I should just cast all of my cares on Him as well.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I got another one from at Rosalind Elliott. Asks, can you give advice on how to develop your tone?
Tone is a little bit more genetic. It's about understanding your tone, loving it, and owning it. So it's not about developing it. It's about learning to love it and own it, and then maximize that. Because some people don't really take the time to really know their tone. So I would say know it, work with it, love it, and own it, and then you can develop it like that. I think we all can hear a little bit of somebody in this, and if you find someone that you like that their tone identifies to yours, you could probably learn from them. I'll usually say, listen to this person. I think you'll learn something from them, and then you can just take it your own way, because I think most of us do that kind of a thing. So if it would be anything about development, I would say find somebody with similar tone, look at their greatness from that, and then take that and then merge into your own thing. But
Interesting.
first and most importantly, learn to love and honor your own tone.
Your own tone. But you said,
Mhm.
okay, but you did say it's genetic.
I think it's genetic because
Genetic.
when we speak, I think your voice is going to sound like somebody in your family sometimes. Like I
That's
think
right.
a lot of things are genetic. So
Yeah.
and if whether you have a musical family or not, our voice and things is definitely going to have something to do with our genetics, our placement, how our nose is built, how our cavity, everything is going to change based on that. So I
Mm.
think you learn what that is, then you start adding accessories to it.
Interesting.
So understand what the foundation is and own it and love that. Then say, okay, now I want to add a little bit of this to me. I
There you
haven't ever
go.
done this, yeah, and then you start building it like that.
I like that.
Yeah,
I joined my high school gospel choir for about two
yeah.
weeks. Um, because I was trying to find my tone and love my tone. I do not come from a musical family.
Okay,
And I recognize that people around me would just kind of hold the girl sitting, just hold her ear. I just, yeah, I can't sing. Is a point.
but see,
Right.
they needed you to produce.
See, there you
That
go.
was your tone.
There
They
you go.
needed you to come and say, "Hey, we're gonna put on a great spring concert,
Let's
and
preach.
this is what we're gonna do. Let's do it. This is what we're gonna do. This is how it's gonna look. This is what the
Let's
set
preach.
is gonna look like. This is
Let's
how we're gonna fit the
preach.
people in here." That's what we need. See, when that's how you found that was your tone.
I found my
Yes,
tone.
you found your
I
tone.
believe
That's it.
myself out a
People are
little
always
too.
people don't pay attention to their tone. They're always trying to do what isn't their tone. But when you
Yeah.
find your tone, that's when you soar and that's when you show
Ooh. Okay.
up.
Yes. Yes. Okay. We have another one from Tony Israel. Wants to
Okay.
know which artists haven't you worked with? Because you worked with everybody. But which
Yeah.
artists haven't you worked with yet? And who would you love to collaborate with?
You know what? Probably some of the people I would love to have worked with. They're not here now. I would have loved to work with Luther.
Wow.
I'm like a diehard Luther fan to this day. I didn't get a chance to ever work with him. He's one person I would have loved to work with. Now myself and CC Winans, we're great friends. We've done things together. We just never been in the studio together. So I would love to get in the studio with CC. She's always been one of my favorite
Mm,
singers. Of course, I've worked with BB, but I haven't worked with CC yet. So she's always been one I would love to get in the studio with. But we have worked on projects together, more live projects and things like that. So we know each other. We just haven't had that one song where I feel like this is the one that we should do together.
okay. Ooh, so I smell a collaboration coming up. That's what I'm thinking. I have another question. I have two more questions from the film, and
Cool.
thank you for this, Donald. Ooh,
Oh,
I'm
loving
getting
it.
goosebumps and
Good. I'm loving
inspiration.
it. Definitely.
This is
Definitely.
great. In the Clark Sisters film, how different are Raven and Kiara's voices in recording the music for the movie?
Well, I think the difference is Kiara is actually in a Clark line, like she's genetically from Karen. So she was easy. I mean, Kiara's not a soprano. I had to make her a soprano.
Okay.
So Kiara easily fit that part. Raven coasted on Kiara because Kiara is Clark, and it's when you're trying to duplicate a certain family sound, Raven just coasted on that. So it was really easy. They just kind of all learned the parts and sung along, and then like the whole thing about blend is you find one voice and everybody adapts to that. So Raven just adapted to what that sound needed to be in the soprano part of that. Angela, who did Jackie, she learned Jackie's tone and just mimicked it right there. Shalea learned Dorinda's tone and mimicked it because Shalea usually is more so on tour with David Foster from his team, and she usually sing more Whitney's things.
Oh, interesting.
And I had to get her to more so adapt to something that's a little bit more raspy, more character, where Whitney's a different type of singer than Dorinda is. So it was really about understanding vocal pedagogy and giving everybody the character.
Sure.
Because once they got their characters down, the voice needed to match that. So
There
it
is.
goes beyond the singing and more so this is the character that I'm playing. How would they sing it?
That's right. That's really brilliant. That's really brilliant.
Yeah.
I have two more. One at Sweet Stallion. In the Exodus, like time we are currently living, are you inspired in the Exodus like time that we're currently living? Are you inspired to write a new album now?
Well, I'm not only because the album that I wrote last year
Yeah,
is this
is
time.
it?
It's
Yeah.
I couldn't I couldn't do anything more other than I would maybe extend stuff to it. I think I might be hearing other songs that go along with it, but that album is so now that I don't hear another album other than that right now. But I do think I hear additional songs that go along with it. So maybe I'll do a Goshen extended edition or something like that. I do feel like I hear some other songs that I would write about this particular time because, you know, like we saying, deliver me, this is my exodus. We're just
Yes,
kind of living that now.
that's
So
right.
I don't think I
That's
could
right.
write a better record for this time than I've just released
That's right.
last year. So if you guys don't have it, go get
Go
Goshen.
get Goshen.
Donald,
Go
yeah, it speaks of this time right now.
go get Goshen, and
Yeah.
I mean, that was also one of my questions. What is the music that can help move us through? And it's that album.
It's that album
Right.
that's going to speak of this time. Exactly. And just so you know, Goshen, for those of you who might not know, Goshen, when Israel was in captivity, there was a body of land that they lived in. It was called Goshen. That's where they were. While Egypt had them captive, they lived in Goshen. God blessed Goshen. It was a sacred place. And when the plagues came to Egypt, it did not bother Goshen. When things happened and when Egypt had economies fail, Goshen was prosperous. So that word significantly means this. Goshen is a spiritual zip code, and those who reside there in spirit, mind, and body
Mm.
achieve against all odds. Goshen is a blessed property. Goshen is God's protected place. So when I say, may God's Goshen follow you, I'm just saying God's protected place for peace, for prosperity, for love, for health. May it follow you, your children, and those that you love and connected to you.
Oh, yes. Thank you. Yes, yes. That is exactly the
Yeah.
kind of I
So
and
yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah. We need music and art to move us through. Music, art,
yeah.
spiritual
It moves us that
message,
way. Yeah.
and the
Just to
message.
take, get us through the time. Exactly.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I'm always saying, may God's Goshen be with you.
May God's Goshen be with you. Yeah, I so
Yes,
appreciate
absolutely.
that. I so
Thank
appreciate
you.
that.
Thank you
Um,
so much.
so in closing, I think I want to just thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me. It's a
Yeah,
pleasure. It's the
yeah.
Apollo, man. Thank you so much. And thank you for having me in December. We had such a great time. Oh
Yeah.
man, it was beautiful. That was my singers loved it. They loved every moment about it. We had a great time. And always much love to Yolanda Adams. She's so graceful. It was great to just co-do that with her. We had a wonderful time.
Well, we can't wait to have you back. We can't wait, and
Likewise.
I'm looking forward to having you back at the Apollo, and
Okay.
looking forward to what other new collaborations you are cooking up in the future.
Yes. All
So
right.
please get the Goshen album.
Yes,
I will be
please.
tuning in tonight at Lifetime at 8 p.m.
Please do. Yeah. And
And
everybody, you go to follow me on Twitter,
yes,
at Donald Lawrence, on IG at Donald Lawrence, Donald Lawrence Music on Facebook, and go subscribe to my YouTube channel, Donald Lawrence Music. I'm still release new content there that people hadn't seen. I have a lot of content since I've been free here at home for the last. I've been shut in for since March 14th. I
wow,
started then, so
wow.
I'm going on like 4 weeks now. But since I had so much time, I started pulling out old video footage that I needed to get together and polish to put out. So we're starting to do that. And we just released, everybody always wanted to see this, Faith Evans singing Say a Prayer for Me from my album, I Speak Life, and from Donald Lawrence album, Best for Last. So we just released a video of that, a live
Mm.
video of that. So you go to my YouTube channel and subscribe, you can see that. I have
Oh,
other stuff coming too, Layla Hathaway, Kelly Price, Natalie Grant, Coco from SWV. I have a ton of stuff I'm going to be putting out throughout the month and into next month. So go subscribe to my YouTube channel as well.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yes, please. Yes, I'm about to
all this
log
all
on
this
right
free
after
time
we
gave
log
me
off.
time to do that. Yeah.
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 Well, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for your
Thank you.
time. Thank you for your Lipton on this weekend. And thank you to everybody who's been tuning in.
Thank you guys.
Yeah, yeah. Tomorrow, just for everybody also, the ApolloTheater.org will be broadcasting Aretha Franklin's documentary, Amazing Grace.
Wow.
Next week, we'll broadcast a special edition of Amateur Night at the Apollo. So visit ApolloTheater.org/digital stage for details and stay up to date with all the many things we planned, because we
Wow.
are all in this together.
Wow.
Um,
Yes.
and thank you, Donald, for your
Thank
inspiration
you, Kamilah,
this
for
time.
having me. I'm so honored that you would have me. Thank you for the chat. I loved every moment of it, and we'll be definitely in touch.
Sounds great.
All
All
right.
right. Take care.
All right. Thank you. God bless you, everybody.
All right.
Bring down that anxiety, bring down that fear.